The battle was over. Smoke still rose from the burned soil. Broken weapons and shattered machines were scattered everywhere. The ground was quiet now. Only the crackling of small fires and distant groans of the wounded broke the silence. Among the wreckage walked a tall human soldier in worn armor. His name was Kyle, and he was one of the few humans sent to fight beside the Galactic Alliance in this war. Kyle moved slowly through the ruins, his boots crunching over debris. He had seen too many battles, too many losses. He was tired, but something kept him searching, maybe a voice inside that whispered, "There's still someone out there." As he stepped over a fallen Zaran walker, a faint sound caught his attention. It was not metal or fire. It was breathing, weak, soft, and nearby. He turned quickly and moved toward the sound. Behind a chunk of broken starship lying motionless was an alien woman. Her skin was a pale silver blue, her armor cracked, her arms bloodied. She wasn't dead, but she couldn't move. Kyle dropped to one knee. "Hey, you alive?" The woman opened her eyes slowly. They were bright violet, full of fear and pain. Her lips moved, but no words came out at first. Then finally, in a strained voice, she whispered, "Help, please. I can't feel my legs." Kyle looked down. Her lower body was twisted strangely, and he could see the signs of injury. Her spine had been hit. She was paralyzed. Footsteps echoed behind him. A group of alien soldiers passed by, the same species as the woman. Kyle waved to them. "She's hurt. She needs help." One of them glanced down at her and frowned. "She's done. Leave her." "What?" Kyle stood up. "She's still breathing." Another soldier said coldly, "We don't carry the broken. She failed her squad. Let the medics deal with her later." They walked on, ignoring her. Kyle looked back, at the woman. Her eyes were wet now, not from pain, but from shame. Her voice cracked. "I froze in battle. They left me." Kyle's jaw tightened. He didn't know this woman. She wasn't human, but something inside him said this isn't right. He set his weapon down and gently slipped his arms under her body. "I got you." She flinched at first, as if shocked someone would touch her. But she didn't resist. Her voice trembled. "Why?" Kyle lifted her into his arms and stood. "Because you're not dead. That's enough reason for me." She was light, but her armor and injuries made it hard to carry her safely. Still, Kyle walked carefully through the rubble, heading back toward the field camp. On the way, they passed more aliens. Some looked away. Others stared, confused or even disgusted. A few whispered behind his back. Why would a human carry one of them, especially one who can't fight anymore? Kyle ignored them all. The woman in his arms rested her head lightly against his chest. She whispered, "My name is Saraya." "Kyle," he said simply. They moved slowly through the remains of the battlefield. Broken banners waved in the wind. Drones buzzed overhead, scanning the dead. But Kyle walked on, holding Saraya with care. Finally, the camp came into view. Medical drones floated past him, ignoring them. A guard at the gate raised an eyebrow. "She's one of theirs," the guard said. "Why are you carrying her?" "She needs help," Kyle replied. "She's not human. She's still a person." The guard hesitated, then stepped aside. Inside the tent, human medics turned to look. One of them, a woman named Dr. Lin, ran over and scanned Saraya's body. "Her spinal nerves are damaged. She's lucky to be alive." "Can you help her?" Kyle asked. Dr. Lin nodded. "We'll try." As they placed Saraya onto a medical bed, her hand grabbed Kyle's. She looked at him with quiet eyes. "No one has ever done that for me before," she whispered. Kyle gently squeezed her hand. "Get better. That's all I want." And for the first time since the war began, Saraya felt something stronger than fear. She felt hope. The camp was busy, but Saraya's room was quiet. She lay on a simple medical bed in the corner of the human field hospital. Machines blinked softly beside her. Her body was still weak, and her legs couldn't move at all. She had deep cuts on, her arms and bruises across her side. But she was alive. Kyle sat nearby in a chair cleaning his armor. His eyes stayed alert, occasionally glancing over to check on her. "You don't have to stay," Soraya whispered. Kyle looked up. "I know." "Then why do you?" He paused. "Because I carried you out of that place. I won't leave you now." Soraya didn't speak for a moment. Her voice was softer now. "My own people didn't stop. They acted like I was already gone." Kyle leaned back. "Some people think being strong means not helping the weak, but I don't agree." Soraya looked down at her hands. They were shaking. "I was trained to be a warrior. I was supposed to be fearless, but that day I froze. When the enemy charged, I couldn't move. I failed." Kyle placed a hand on the edge of her bed. "You didn't fail. You got hurt. That's not the same." "No one wants to carry a broken weapon," she said bitterly. "You're not a weapon," Kyle said. "You're a person." There was silence again, but this time it felt warmer. Not empty, but calm. A nurse entered, scanned Soraya's vitals, and gently checked her spine. "She's stable, but she needs treatment soon. Human tech can help repair her nerves, but her biology is different. It's risky." Soraya turned her head. "Will it work?" The nurse shrugged. "There's a chance, but it hasn't been tested much on your kind." Kyle stood up. "What if we wait? Is there another option?" The nurse shook her head. "Not with her condition. If the nerves don't heal soon, the damage could become permanent." After the nurse left, Soraya stared at the ceiling. "I don't want to become someone who just lies here." "You won't," Kyle said. "But the choice is yours." She closed her eyes. "My people fear human medicine. They say it changes you." Kyle didn't smile, but his tone was light. "Then maybe you'll become half-human. Could be worse." That made her chuckle softly, a quiet, broken laugh. "All right, I'll do it." That evening, the procedure began. Human medics placed soft neurobands across her spine and temples. The machines hummed, sending light pulses through her nervous system. Soraya clenched her fists. Her whole body felt strange, tingly, like a storm was passing through her veins. Kyle stayed close the entire time, watching carefully. Sometimes she cried out, other times she went still, but he never looked away. After an hour, the machines powered down, Head medic nodded. "Now we wait." Days passed. Soraya's body healed slowly. Her arms grew stronger and her breathing returned to normal. But her legs remained lifeless. Sometimes she stared at them in silence, frustration building inside. Kyle continued to visit every day. He brought her food, helped her sit up, even told her stories from Earth, funny, strange, and sometimes sad. "Why are you doing this?" she asked one morning. Kyle shrugged. "Because no one else did." "But I'm not human." "That doesn't matter to me." She looked away, her voice soft. "You're different." Kyle nodded. "So are you." Later that night, as rain tapped gently on the camp roof, Soraya whispered into the quiet room, "Do you think I'll ever walk again?" Kyle didn't answer right away. Then he stood beside her bed, gently placed a blanket over her and said, "I think you'll do more than walk. I think you'll stand tall. And when you do, everyone who left you behind will know they were wrong." Soraya blinked back a tear, not from pain this time, but from something deeper, hope. The wind outside the medical tent blew softly, carrying the scent of distant fires and damp soil. The war had moved on to another front, but inside the human field hospital, time moved slowly for Soraya. She lay still on the bed, her arms growing, stronger day by day, but her legs were still lifeless. The strange human machines attached to her spine buzzed gently. They were part of the healing system, technology from Earth designed to repair nerves. It had never been used on her species before. She felt nervous every time it turned on. Kyle stood near the bed watching the readings. He didn't understand all the details, but he cared more than anyone else had. Soraya looked at him. "Does it scare you that this might not work?" Kyle replied calmly, "Fear only matters if it stops you from trying. You didn't give up. That's already a win." She gave a weak smile. "You humans speak in strange ways. And yet you still listen," he said, grinning slightly. That morning, Dr. Lin entered the room with a data pad in hand. "We're seeing some small changes in your nerve activity, Soraya. It's not much, but it's a start." Soraya's eyes widened. "You mean the nerves are waking up?" "Yes," Dr. Lin confirmed. "But it will take time. And there's a problem." Soraya's smile faded. "What kind of problem?" "The system was designed for human biology. Your body is reacting well so far, but now it's creating resistance. Your immune system is trying to fight the therapy. We may have to stop." Kyle stood up. "Is there a way to stop that resistance?" Dr. Lin hesitated. "There is a stabilizer, but it's experimental. It works for humans and some alien types. No promises for her kind." Soraya stayed quiet. Then she asked, "What if I take it anyway?" "It could work," Dr. Lin said. "Or it could weaken your body more. It's your choice." Soraya looked at Kyle. "What would you do?" He thought for a moment. "I'd try. If there's a chance to walk again, I'd take it." She nodded slowly. "Then let's try." Later that evening, they gave her the stabilizer. It was a simple injection, but her body reacted quickly. Sweat formed on her forehead. Her arms shook. Her breathing grew heavy. Kyle grabbed her hand. "Stay with me, Soraya." She didn't answer, but her grip tightened around his fingers. For hours, her body trembled. The machines beeped louder, then settled. Her body calmed. Dr. Lin checked the readings. "She made it through. Her immune system is stable. We can continue therapy." Kyle let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He looked at Soraya, who had fallen asleep, exhausted but alive. The next morning, she was weak but smiling. "Did I survive the human experiment?" Kyle smirked. "Barely." She laughed softly. "Then it's working." From that day, therapy sessions became part of her routine. Electrical signals ran through her spine, waking up nerves that had been silent. Slowly, she began to feel warmth in her legs again. Just light touches, like wind brushing skin. But it was something. Other patients in the tent watched in silence. Some were surprised she was still there. Some still looked down on her. "She was left behind for a reason," one alien soldier said. Kyle overheard and walked over. "She's stronger than you'll ever be." "At least she didn't run." The soldier turned away, embarrassed. Back at her bedside, Soraya whispered, "Why do you speak for me?" "Because no one else does," Kyle replied. Her eyes softened. "Do you really believe I can walk again?" He nodded. "Not just walk. You'll stand taller than them all." Soraya looked down at her legs. She couldn't move them yet, but she felt something new. Not just the therapy, not just the healing. She felt belief, and that was something no machine could give. The sky above the camp turned orange as the sun set behind the hills. A light breeze moved the flag standing outside the tents. It was peaceful, for now. Inside the medical tent, Soraya sat upright in her bed. With the help of the machines and human care, she could now move her arms easily. And though her legs still didn't respond fully, she had started to feel small pulses, signals from her body waking up slowly. Kyle sat on the stool next to her as usual. He placed a small food tray in front of her. "I brought something different today. Earth soup. Might taste strange." Soraya looked at the bowl and picked up the spoon slowly. "It smells warm." "That's a good start," Kyle said with a smile. As she took a small sip, her expression changed. "Spicy." "Too spicy?" "No," she replied. "Just new." There was a short silence. Soraya looked at her hands and said softly, I keep thinking about that moment, when they left me. Kyle looked at her carefully. Your squad? She nodded. They were like family. We trained together. We fought side by side for years. But the moment I fell, they didn't stop. Not even to check if I was alive. That's not how a team should act, Kyle said. They were proud warriors. Soraya continued. To them, weakness is shame. A paralyzed soldier only brings dishonor. Kyle leaned back slightly. That's a dangerous way of thinking. Everyone gets hurt. That's part of being alive. Soraya's voice dropped. I was always trying to prove I was strong enough, even when I doubted myself. I smiled and stood tall. She looked up, her eyes meeting Kyle's. But when I couldn't stand, no one looked back. Kyle leaned forward, his voice steady. You don't have to prove anything to anyone now. You survived. You're healing. That's real strength. Her eyes softened. Why do you see me differently? Because I don't see a failed warrior. I see someone who was left behind and still refused to give up. Just then, the tent flap opened. A group of alien officers entered wearing dark armor with glowing badges. Their eyes scanned the room until they saw Soraya. One, of them taller than the rest, stepped forward. Soraya of the 9th Unit. She straightened her back. Yes, Commander. We came to check on your status. Kyle stood up, protective. She's still recovering. The commander ignored him. You are no longer listed as part of your unit. Your squad returned without you. According to protocol, your name was marked as lost in battle. Soraya said nothing at first. Then she replied, I was not dead. I was left. That's not our concern anymore. The commander said. We simply came to deliver this. He handed her a small tablet. It is your official release from duty. She took it with a trembling hand. So that's it? Your condition makes you unfit to serve, the officer replied. We do not carry broken soldiers. Kyle stepped forward, anger in his voice. She's not broken. The commander looked at him with cold eyes. She is yours now, do what you want. With that, the officers turned and walked out. Soraya held the tablet in silence. Her fingers gripped it tightly. Then she set it down and turned away. Kyle knelt beside her. You don't have to carry their judgment. They were my people, she whispered. My family. Then maybe it's time to choose a new one, he said. She looked at him slowly, surprised. He continued, family isn't who leaves you, it's who stays. The machine at her side beeped softly. She looked down and noticed something. Her left foot had moved slightly, just a twitch. But it was real. Her eyes widened. Did you see that? Kyle smiled. I saw it. Her voice was soft, full of wonder. I can feel something, not just pain, but strength. You're getting stronger every day, he said. Outside, the wind picked up and the stars began to appear in the sky. Soraya no longer felt like a forgotten soldier. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen. Not as a warrior, not as a soldier, but as someone who mattered. And beside her, the human who carried her was still there, watching, listening, and believing. Night had fallen across the camp. The stars above were bright and the air felt cooler than usual. Most soldiers had gone to rest. Only the guards and a few medics were still awake. Inside the tent, Soraya was lying on her bed. Her body was tired, but her mind was awake. She kept thinking about the small twitch in her leg. That tiny movement gave her new hope. She wanted to try again, to push harder, but something didn't feel right. Outside, Kyle stood near the tent entrance. He had a strange feeling too. Years of battle had taught him to trust his instincts, and tonight those instincts were whispering danger. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Red lights flashed around the camp. Loudspeakers shouted warnings. Enemy forces approaching, all units prepare for contact. Kyle grabbed his rifle. He rushed inside the tent. Soraya, stay down, the camp is under attack. Her eyes widened. What? How? They're raiders, probably. From the broken Azeran factions, we need to hold them off. Explosions echoed in the distance, the ground shook. Medics ran back and forth, preparing to move patients. But they skipped Sireya's corner. She wasn't a priority. Her bed was in the far corner of the tent, too hard to move quickly. Kyle looked around. "I'll protect you here." Sireya grabbed his arm. "You should go. You're needed out there." He shook his head. "I carried you through fire once. I'm not letting it touch you again." The tent walls shook as something hit nearby. A sharp crash followed. Part of the roof collapsed and sparks flew. Smoke filled the air. Kyle pulled his armor on quickly and raised his weapon. Two enemy raiders in black gear burst into the tent. They weren't expecting resistance. Kyle fired first. One raider dropped. The second charged with a blade, but Kyle blocked him and fought hand to hand. It was a hard hit, but Kyle slammed him to the ground. Sireya coughed from the smoke. She tried to pull herself up with her arms but couldn't move fast enough. Then another raider entered, a tall one with strange armor and glowing eyes. He walked toward Sireya's bed, ignoring Kyle completely. Kyle turned and shouted, "No!" He rushed forward, but the raider hit him with a shock weapon. Kyle fell back stunned, his body shaking. The raider stood over Sireya. She looked up, helpless. The weapon in his hand glowed. But before he could strike, Sireya grabbed a metal pole from beside her bed and swung it up with both hands. It hit the raider's arm, and he stumbled back. Kyle, recovering, charged and tackled the enemy to the ground. After a short struggle, Kyle disarmed him and knocked him out cold. Sireya coughed again, her chest rising fast. Are you okay?" Kyle wiped sweat from his face. "I should be asking you that." "I hit him," she whispered. "You did more than that," Kyle said. "You fought back." He helped her sit up more comfortably. The camp was still under attack, but more human and alien troops had arrived. The fighting slowly moved away. From the tent, a medic ran in. "You two all right?" Kyle nodded. "We're alive." The medic looked around. "We'll move her now before more show up." Kyle lifted Sireya gently, placing her in a hover stretcher. She didn't protest. Her eyes stayed on Kyle. "You didn't leave," she said. "I never will." As they moved through the smoky camp, Sireya felt something deep inside, something new. Strength. Not just from the therapy, not just from the machines, but from the fire inside her that didn't fade. She had fought even while paralyzed. She had protected herself, and Kyle had protected her again. The tent disappeared behind them, but Sireya knew the battle had changed everything, not just outside but inside her too. Days passed since the raid on the camp. The battle had tested everyone's strength, but none more than Sireya. She was no longer just the paralyzed woman lying in the tent. The therapy, the human care, and her own determination were beginning to change her. One morning, Kyle entered the tent carrying a small device, a thin rod with sensors. He smiled softly. "Today, we try something new." Sireya watched as he set the device beside her bed. It was designed to help her legs respond better. The machine would send gentle electrical pulses to stimulate the nerves. She was nervous, but trusted Kyle. "Ready?" he asked. She nodded. Kyle placed small pads on her legs, connected to the device. The machine hummed quietly. Sireya's legs tingled. At first, nothing happened. But then, a small twitch in her right foot, a tiny movement barely noticeable. Sireya's eyes widened. "Did you see that?" Kyle's face lit up. "I did." "That's amazing." She tried again. This time her toes curled slightly. The medics watching from the corner whispered in surprise. "Her nervous system is responding faster than expected." Encouraged, Sireya focused all her will on her legs. She imagined standing, walking, even running. And slowly, with every session, the small movements grew stronger. One afternoon, as the sun filtered through the tent's fabric, Kyle helped Sireya sit up in a special chair. Her legs hung over the edge, weak but moving. With Kyle's support, she planted her feet on the ground. Her knees trembled. "Try to stand," Kyle encouraged gently. She gripped the armrests, closed her eyes, and pushed up. At first, her legs shook like leaves in the wind, but then she stood. Her whole body trembled, but she was upright. Kyle caught her, steadying her. Siraya looked down at her feet, then up at Kyle. Tears filled her eyes. I stood. Kyle smiled wide. You did more than that. You fought. You won. The news of her progress spread quickly through the camp. Soldiers and medics alike came to see the alien woman who refused to stay broken. Some who had ignored her before now nodded with respect. Even the alien commanders sent messages, curious and cautious. Siraya was invited to a meeting. Inside a large tent filled with high-ranking officers, she faced the leaders of her own people. They looked at her with mixed expressions, surprise, doubt, and some regret. One officer spoke first. Siraya, you were declared unfit. Your squad left you behind. Yet here you stand. She nodded. Yes, with the help of a human. A murmur went through the room. Another commander said, your recovery challenges our beliefs about weakness. Siraya looked around the tent, then said firmly, weakness is not what happens to the body. Weakness is giving up. She turned to Kyle and added, he carried me when no one else would, not out of duty but out of belief. Kyle stood silently beside her, feeling a mix of pride and humility. The room grew quiet. Then slowly the commanders nodded. One said, we would be honored to have you back in service, if you wish. Siraya thought for a moment. I have seen what true strength means, she said. Not from those who abandon the weak, but from those who lift them up. She smiled at Kyle. I do not want to return to a place where I was left behind, but I want to fight, alongside those who believe in me. The commanders agreed. From that day, Siraya trained with Kyle's unit, a mix of humans and aliens. She learned new tactics, shared her own knowledge, and slowly became a warrior again. Her body still healed, but her spirit was stronger than ever. One evening, as she and Kyle watched the stars from the camp's walls, she said softly, I was broken, but now I rise. Kyle smiled. And I'll be here every step. Together they looked toward the future, a future where no one would be left behind. The early morning sun cast soft light over the camp. Birds chirped quietly as the day began. The war was not yet over, but the calm moments were precious. Siraya stood near the training grounds, her legs steady beneath her for the first time in months. The once paralyzed alien woman was now walking slowly but surely, with the help of Kyle's strong arms and her own will. Today was special. It was the day she would officially join Kyle's unit. Not as a guest, but as a warrior, a friend, and an equal. Soldiers gathered to watch. Some whispered, some nodded with respect, but all looked on with surprise. Many had doubted her before. Now, she walked toward them with quiet confidence. Kyle stood at her side. His armor was clean, and his eyes shone with pride. He reached out. His hand, Siraya took it without hesitation. The commanding officer stepped forward. Siraya of the 9th Unit, you have shown courage, strength, and the heart of a true warrior. We welcome you to our ranks. Siraya's voice was steady. Thank you. I do not take this honor lightly. She looked out at the crowd. I was left behind because I could not move. But thanks to one human who believed in me, I learned that no one is truly broken if they have someone to stand by their side. The soldiers around them clapped. Some smiled. Others wiped tears from their eyes. Kyle squeezed her hand. You belong here. After the ceremony, Kyle and Siraya walked together toward the camp's edge. The sun warmed their faces. The war still waited ahead, but so did hope. Siraya broke the silence. I never thought I would walk again, not like this. Kyle smiled. You walked before even when you couldn't move. You carried yourself through pain no one else saw. She looked up at him, her violet eyes soft and bright. You carried me, in your arms, and in your heart. Kyle chuckled. I guess we carried each other. For a moment they stood side by side, sharing a peace that had been rare in their lives. Siraya's voice dropped. Why did you help me? You didn't have to. Kyle looked away, then back, because I know what it's like to be left behind, to feel like no one cares. But I believe people are stronger together. She nodded slowly. I want to be part of that strength. A warm breeze blew past them, carrying the scent of flowers and earth. Kyle looked toward the horizon. We have a long road ahead, but with you by my side, I'm ready. Siraya smiled. And I am ready to walk it. With you. They turned and walked back into the camp, their steps sure and steady. Behind them, the morning light grew brighter, lighting a new chapter not just for Siraya or Kyle, but for all who believe that no one should ever be left behind.